Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. We are awaiting the beginning of a press conference with Governor Reeves about the current restoration efforts related to the ice storm that's set to kick off at 4 p.m. We'll hopefully get more on that here in just a moment. The governor expected to talk about, again, some of the movement of assets to North Mississippi as, again, the restoration efforts continue. The governor was up in Tippah County and did fly over parts of North Mississippi today as folks from the National Guard as well as MEMA continue to kind of help with trying to figure out how to get everything back up and going. Today, we've also seen restoration of the main transmission lines that TVA has for many parts of North Mississippi. And so that means that at least that initial thread to bring electricity to the local power cooperatives has now been reestablished. So one of the important steps in trying to bring the power back on across the region. We're waiting the beginning of that press conference set to start at 4 p.m. So we're a little past that at this point here. In talking with Public Service Commissioner Chris Brown, again, a lot of the power cooperatives, again, making good progress. A lot of the water associations also trying to get that water back flowing again. But there has been, again, some issues with power and the ability to pump the water into towers, things of that nature. So we do expect to hear more about how everything is going to get aligned as far as that is concerned, as they're trying to move assets around. After our live stream earlier, in fact, the Public Service Commissioner said that they have found at least a couple other utility grade, I think greater than 150 kilowatt generators to help out. Looks like the governor is now speaking. They had some issues with live feed. Let's go to that now.
And Sunday, when we said this is not going to be a 1 or 2 day event, the fact is when the temperatures get as low as they got on Sunday night and Monday night, we are dealing with the ice that has been left throughout the state. I want to give you just a little bit of an update on what we have done today. General Ginn and I and others took a trip to North Mississippi. We stopped at Camp McCain, where the Mississippi National Guard that is deployed is headquartering and basing their operations. I'll let General Ginn speak to that. A lot of really capable, competent people there. We're very proud of what they are doing, and they have been successful over the last 24 to 36 hours getting supplies to the areas most in need. We continue to receive requests, but I will tell you, just as an example of the size and the enormity of what we're dealing with here, as of 1400 hours today, which is 2 o'clock our time, we have had 40 counties make requests through Web EOC, and the total number of requests are 357. Obviously, we are working our way through that in each of one of those requests to ensure that we either can source it or that it is indeed needed. We have worked with our federal partners at FEMA. As I have told you a couple days ago, we had received 30 generators and we're expecting 30 more. We have now received those additional 30. We now have 60 generators based or headquartered that have not, all of them have not been distributed yet, but 60 at Camp McCain, and we have requested and received an additional 30 generators that are currently stationed at Columbus. We have received from our federal partners 4 truckloads or 128,000 bottles of water. We have received 4 truckloads of MREs or 107,520 meals. We have sourced an additional 2,178 cots, 2 truckloads of blankets or approximately 9,000 blankets for the warming centers that are open all throughout the state. We currently have warming centers in total 35 counties of Mississippi with a total of 68 individual facilities that are open throughout the state of Mississippi. Not only did we go to Camp McCain, we also stopped today in Tippah County. As you know, Tippah County is one of the hardest hit counties in the state, along with their neighbors to the south and southwest and to the east. We made a stop at the Tippah County Hospital, and I can just tell you that from my personal experience, how much I appreciate the conversations that we had there, and the fact that it reminds you of the heroes that we have in Mississippi, just Mississippians going over and beyond the call to help their fellow neighbors. Fortunately, there at the hospital, they have power back. We are working to source them water, but again, a lot of people that are just doing incredible work there. We also made a stop at the nursing home facility there, where we had actually sourced a generator for them because they did not have power. We appreciated our friends at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They are helping us in terms of the generator installation where that is necessary. But now we find ourselves on Wednesday, and we still have a little over, we've had a lot of progress on getting power back on throughout the affected area. However, we do know that we have a lot to go. There's the latest number I saw is we still have a little over 100,000 in Mississippi without electricity. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of linemen, both from in-state and out-of-state, that are out working. The weather was better today. That helps. We're seeing significant reductions in the total number of outages because of that. But we also know that we're going to go into tonight with a large number of people that continue to have no power, and we are continuing to encourage staffing and resourcing the various warming centers so that those individuals in our state, because it's going, even though it warmed up today well above freezing to the 38 to 40 range, it's going to be well below freezing tonight and maybe down in the low 20s in much of the north part of our state. As you have seen, sadly, we can confirm 10 fatalities with this event, and multiple injuries as well, at least 18 we have confirmed, but there could be, at least 14 that we can confirm, but we think those numbers are going to rise. We've had 51 counties make damage reports, as well as 37 municipalities make damage reports in our system. We anticipate those numbers are going to go up as well. We know that there has been a lack of power and also a lack of being able to get online to do those things at various EOCs in the north part of the state, and so we expect those numbers to rise as well. I'm going to let Executive Director of MDOT, Brad White, give you an update, as well as our Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety with respect to some of the roadways and where they find themselves. We have deployed initially an additional 8 uniformed officers of the Mississippi Highway Patrol yesterday. We today have deployed an additional 23 uniformed officers and marked patrols for work on our roadways. We've also asked and received the Mississippi State Department of Health are deploying and standing up medical needs shelter and shelter strike team with equipment and supplies in the affected area. This continues to be an all-of-government approach. We obviously have a lot of experience with natural disasters, but ice storms are just a little bit different. As I said earlier today, when a tornado hits or when a hurricane hits, when it is over and leaves the state, then you can immediately go to work trying to figure out how you cut your way through to help people. Ice storms are different because although the precipitation stopped in Mississippi, mostly the midday on Sunday or afternoon on Sunday, it was the fact that the temperatures never got above freezing, particularly in the north part of the state, where on Monday night and again on last night, those frozen roads, frozen trees, frozen limbs that fell on power lines continue to be a problem and continue to create challenges for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mac first, the head of the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, and then we will eventually take questions. So Mac, you want to say a few words?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. I'll just reiterate a couple of just little items that the governor was hitting on that MEMA is doing in concert with our other partners, the emergency support functions, all 16 state agencies. We're out there working. We've got some new deaths that were reported. We need to be thinking about those families and how that's affecting them. We also look at what we've got on the current total homes affected right now, about 208. That's kind of what we're seeing. 7 destroyed. We've got major about 43, 72 in the affected, minor and affected range. But we're going to see more of that as we get out and see how many more limbs have fallen on homes, et cetera, et cetera. Our businesses are doing pretty good. Only about 7 or so affected in major. So we're looking at as they're able to get out to be able to take care of those things. The public roads are what you're going to hear from MDOT and the Highway Patrol, I-55 and I-22, and Highway 22, big issues. We're following the frost line. The teams at MEMA, the teams at the Corps of Engineers, the teams with FEMA, we follow that frost line. We're going up as we can clearly get up and start getting those teams into to install, manage the generators that we're putting in. Right now, we've already installed 35. And it's like, okay, you've gotten 35 generators in. What does that mean? Well, that means the team has gone up and said, okay, this building can accept that power. We have to evaluate it. And the wraparound services with this UAC, the Corps of Engineers team, it's a one-stop shop. Once we install it, we maintain it, we fuel it, we keep it running to the end of this event. So that is what is all-encompassing around. So out of that 30, we've got 55 more in hand. We've got another 30 available that can come, and so we're looking at our burn rate. How many is it going to take to get this event done? And so we've got the teams, they're going out each and every day, and that's looking very good. We're putting them on water systems, shelters, warming centers, assisted living facilities, and also corrections, taking care of those folks that are within the state's custody to make sure that they make it through this as well. Reiterate that traveling through the state is still not free. We're blocked off. This is a time to stay at home when you can. Please look at the generators that you're using at your own home. We've had some issues where generators and possibly kerosene heaters inside homes have caused possibly some of these deaths. We don't need to lose people. We've got to be smart about it. We've got to get it done. The governor talked about the reports we're getting in. We're monitoring those every single minute throughout the day. We get another request. Lafayette and a few others were able to get on our communication systems for the state of Mississippi, the MISWIN system, the Wireless Commission. We're at 100%. We're one of the few states. We've got 100% emergency communications that's running through every first responder, everyone that's out there. So we're able to, if we don't have internet, we're going to give it to you over the phone. We're going to give it to you over that radio. We're going to talk it right into our emergency operations center here. We'll put in your needs. We'll get those things moving for you. We've been working through some of those issues. Somebody that don't have internet, no, put it over the radio. We got you 100% VOCO right in. So a lot of water, cots, everything have been distributed out the state. We've got still more to go. We've got the at Camp McCain, Mississippi, made a very judicious decision to go ahead and move a forward base up there along with the Mississippi National Guard. So if you've got it and it's there, it's going to be a shorter time frame. We made an hour-and-a-half trip to Oxford last night, which would have taken 2.5, almost 3 hours. So we're able to make those jumps a lot better into that impacted area, the same way we would do it if we'd be jumping out of Camp Shelby going south to do that for hurricanes and whatnot. I'll be around for any questions that might come at the end, but Governor, I'll let you let the next person.
Thank you, Mac, and I appreciate the entire team at the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency and our partners at the Federal Emergency Management Agency for helping ensure that we resource all of these various requests that we are getting when it makes sense to do so. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to General Ginn As you probably saw, a number of us stopped at Camp McCain earlier today. I couldn't be more, and I told the soldiers that were there, as you know, we've deployed about 500 so far. I couldn't be more proud of those men and women and the work that they are doing. And the reality is they just have some assets that no one else in the state has. When we had a difficult time last night that I know Commissioner Tyndall will talk about, getting automobiles moving on I-55, we literally sent wrecker crews from the Mississippi National Guard from Camp McCain up to I-55 to get that rolling in, and we saw a lot of progress with respect to that. So, General Ginn, you want to speak to that?
Yes, sir.
And other things?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. Kind of sort of array of our forces with 500 soldiers that we have right now. We went FOC at Camp McCain with 500 soldiers yesterday. Task Force Thunder, that is our operational base, and forward of that, and we kicked these soldiers out. We thought we would kick them out to these forward operating bases by this morning, but we actually got most of them out yesterday afternoon. So the sense of urgency is certainly there. But we got one set up in Greenville, one in Senatobia, one in Oxford, and one in Boonville, and we're working on getting one set up in Tupelo as well. We also we also have several commodity trains, log trains that are running from the MEMA warehouse here in Byram and also out of Camp Shelby as well. And just a quick update on what we've done in the last 24, we've issued 20,000 bottles of water, 630 blankets, 12,000 meals, 300 cots, 8,000 gallons of fuel, and in the last 36 hours, nonstop wrecker service on I-55. So again, we got 500 soldiers out there doing great work. Task Force Thunder, Colonel Rod Edwards up at Camp McCain, they're working, is doing a great job, and we visited with those soldiers today. Our goal, we have LNOs out in 5 other counties right now besides where we have our operational forward bases set up. The goal is to get them in 30 more counties. So we're working toward that, getting better every day. The sense of urgency is certainly there. And basic life support is our #1 concern. Governor, thank you.
Thank you, General Ginn. At this time, I'm going to ask the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White, to talk about some of the challenges that we've seen, particularly on the interstates. I actually flew over both I-55 and 22 a couple of hours ago. I will tell you that this was not necessarily true 24 hours ago or even 20 hours ago, but as of this moment, the vast majority of vehicles that are on 55 and on 22 are 18-wheelers, and there's not a lot of passenger vehicles. I think a lot of people are heeding the call to, unless you have to be on the roadways, to stay off. We anticipate that these roads are likely to freeze over again tonight. Ice is not, dealing with ice and dealing with snow is not the same thing. And so we are working our way through that, but I'm going to let Brad speak to it. So.
Thank you, Governor. Monday morning when the storm had passed, we were realizing that the areas of the state that were majorly affected was primarily the Mississippi Delta and North Mississippi. This is an area that consists of about 15,000 lane miles of state highway and over 3,000 bridges on our highway asset inventory. We deployed about 500 maintenance employees with equipment out in that area. Yesterday was the first day that we've had temperature that got above freezing. Primarily in these areas, they were hit with ice, as the governor said, and as he said, the ice is a much different animal. You cannot plow frozen ice. You have to have cooperation from temperatures getting above freezing, sunshine, and the ability to treat the ice in order to turn the top layers into a slush material that you're able to then plow off and continue treating until ultimately you've removed all of the substance from the highway. Yesterday, our crews were successful in opening up much of the Mississippi Delta as well as East Mississippi in the Tupelo area. Much of the 55 corridor, as you know, experienced some of the heaviest layers of ice. This morning, with the help of the National Guard and the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, we were able to block off the affected areas of I-55, primarily in the Panola and Tate County areas, along with I-22 and Marshall County, back into the state line at Tennessee. We tried to devote as much personnel as we could from the other parts of North Mississippi into those areas in order to begin trying to make hay while the sun was shining. We did have cooperation with the sunshine and the temperatures today, and some progress was made in being able to open up much of I-55 in one lane. Again, our goals are primarily to try to have at least a lane of our interstate system passable for those essential vehicles that have to use it. Today, our crews were able to open up much of 55 that remained closed yesterday. We still have the issue that we're working with the Department of Public Safety about the 18-wheeler traffic that remains on these two interstates. We do look to continue having sections of I-55 in this area, as well as I-22 or US 78 in Marshall County closed to through traffic, so that we can make sure that others don't get stuck in there, but also so we can try to begin maneuvering equipment in. I will remind you another thing about treating ice. Tonight, the temperatures are going to be dropping as soon as the sun goes down. What is left there will refreeze. Our crews will be unable to address some of those issues tonight. And so tomorrow morning, God willing, the sun's going to come up, the temperatures will rise back into the 40s as they were today, and we'll be able to pick up where we left off in treating the area and then continuing to shave off the ice and ultimately opening the highways back up. And I'll be available to take any questions as well after the others make their presentation.
Thank you, Brad. And at this time, I'm going to call on Sean Tyndall, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, whose law enforcement officers, primarily the Mississippi Highway Patrol, have been supporting the efforts throughout this weather event, and particularly in terms of escorting the National Guard vehicles last night to get to I-55. I will tell you, just as an anecdote on 55, and maybe Sean can speak to this a little bit, when we flew over it, say at 1 o'clock or so, or 12 o'clock today, there was a pretty significant backup south of Batesville on I-55. My understanding is, for the most part, that has been cleared up, but we are trying not to allow additional individuals north of Batesville on 55, so as we can ensure that we don't find ourselves in a position like we did last night, where you have an 18-wheeler or another truck that either simply staying on the one lane that is open, or in some instances trying to pass on the lane that really shouldn't be open. They end up jackknifing, and it ends up we're not able to move traffic in any direction. And so we're trying to limit that, and I'm going to let Commissioner Tyndall talk about it.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, so since this event started, the Mississippi Highway Patrol and our other law enforcement divisions at the Department of Public Safety have assisted hundreds and hundreds of stranded motorists. A lot of this accumulated last night on I-55. Troopers with the Mississippi Highway Patrol were out till 4 in the morning removing motorists from their personal vehicles that were stuck on I-55. That presents a different kind of danger, dangerous circumstance than those that are in commercial trucking vehicles or 18-wheelers, primarily, and you've got smaller gas tanks, and it's more likely after a certain amount of time those individuals will run out of gas and then be stuck on the interstate in frozen temperatures without any heat. So it was imperative that we assist those drivers and get them off of I-55. The Mississippi Highway Patrol and our Commercial Trucking Enforcement Division did a great job of helping assist those in personal vehicles to get off the road. That led to the decision today that we couldn't afford to have another night like we did last night tonight. We've been coordinating with the Mississippi Department of Transportation as well as the National Guard on working towards getting I-55 and I-22 clear, but in order to do that, it was imperative that we clear that interstate and we clear those lanes of traffic. So as of this afternoon, I-55 will be shut down at the Batesville exit. We were able to move that, as the governor mentioned, a little bit further north to Batesville. If you're northbound and you're heading north on I-55 and you get to Batesville, The best thing that you can do is turn back around and go back south on I-55. Same thing on 22. If you're headed westbound on 22, the best thing you can do when you get to Red Banks is to turn around and go back east. I-22 will be shut down between State Line and Red Bank exit tonight. That again is so that we can make sure that motorists do not get stranded overnight in deadly conditions without air conditioning or gas or other supplies. If anybody chooses to get on the interstate after going around barricades or anything like that, I want you to know you're doing that at your own risk. You've got to assume the liability. If you get stuck there, people might not be able to come and help you. First responders might not be able to come and help you. So do not go around those barricades once they are established. Again, the goal here is to keep the interstate clear so that in the morning, when temperatures get above freezing, MDOT can immediately get to work on clearing this interstate. The quicker we can get the interstate clear, the more likely it is that we'll be able to get additional supplies and other stuff into the needed areas. I know folks want to come get help. I've already gotten calls. What about those trying to bring supplies? If you try to bring supplies across I-55 in this area or 22 in this area, you run a very high risk of getting stuck, and that's not going to do anybody any good. It's only going to make matters worse. I would like to applaud the Mississippi Highway Patrol and Colonel Pitts and his team there, as well as our CTED agents and other law enforcement who have not only been out there throughout this storm, particularly in that area. We've got troopers in Troop F and Troop E and Troop D, our northern districts, that have been away from their families assisting stranded motorists and others. We have brought in reinforcements from the southern part of the state as part of our special operations group, and they have worked tirelessly to try to protect and keep Mississippians safe, as well as our partners at MDOT, MEMA, and the National Guard. So I'll be glad to answer any specific questions about that at the appropriate time. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyndall. We also have Colonel Tad Pitts of the Mississippi Highway Patrol here. If you have any technical or difficult questions with respect to our law enforcement efforts, he will be here to answer questions as well. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious for anyone, but particularly MDOT, if there's a plan to just kind of make these efforts through the weekend when the temperatures are expected to drop further?
Yeah, I think I'm going to let Brad address that, but I do think that is a very important point. We mentioned on Monday that we thought Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we had a window of potentially better weather, but we also know that starting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's going to be brutally cold again in the state of Mississippi. And so that creates a large number of other challenges, particularly for those who have not yet gotten power back, particularly for those whose water systems are not back operating and functioning exactly the way they need to, but also that's going to create problems potentially for the roads that do not get cleared prior to Friday. So, Brad, I'll let you speak to the efforts.
Well, as we said, from the beginning, our best friend is good weather, higher temperatures above freezing and sunshine. And we've had that yesterday and today across North Mississippi in pockets. Today, a lot of progress was made. We were able to remove a lot of the ice on 55 northbound in one lane. We were able to help 55 southbound remain passable. We had an independent contractor in addition to our forces that we brought in DeSoto County that was plowing north and southbound lanes of 55. We've left a passable lane on I-269 in that area. With the promise of good weather tomorrow, we're hoping to build on that in the anticipation of not having cooperative weather over the weekend. But that is also why from the beginning that we've beseeched the public that if you don't need to be on the road, please don't get on the road because of some of the issues that we've had. Because we're unable to do some of this at night when the freezing temperatures return. So only during those daylight hours we're able to do it. We feel confident that we have all of the equipment that we have at our availability and all of the personnel at our availability, and with the help of the Guard and the Department of Public Safety that have helped us kind of free ourselves of some of the motoring public in that area. I think that we'll be able to see another big difference made tomorrow when the weather is here, and we'll reassess, of course, at that time. With a lot of the focus being on 55 and 22, though, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we were successful due to the weather yesterday of being able to clear up a lot of the issue in northeast Mississippi. A lot of progress was made in the Delta, and that's what allowed us to be able to refocus some of our personnel from those areas today into these main corridors that are in need of some extra attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Martin with Fox 13 has a question.
Hello, Martin.
Hey, Martin, can you unmute your mic, please?
Well, Martin, thank you for the question. I'm going to let Brad talk about the I've heard him answer this question and the point that the pre-treatment that occurred prior to this storm was a larger effort than ever in the history of our state. I'm not at all surprised that residents did not see certain things. I don't know exactly where they were looking, but that's part of the deal. But I'm going to let Brad talk about exactly what all was done prior to the storm.
We began pulling in all of our statewide leadership team a week ago, meeting with the National Weather Service, looking at what was being expected and trying to develop our plan on how to move forward. As the governor has said, and as we've talked about many times, dealing with ice is a much different animal than snow. You can plow snow. It's a lot different from any of the other weather disasters you might have. It presents a whole different set of challenges. The pre-treatment method a lot of times for ice is a substance that's called brine that is sprayed out, and that kind of coats the roadways in a way that forms an insulation of sorts that tries to prevent or at least slow some of the freezing effect on asphalt. The successfulness of that chemical is sometimes negated when the weather leading right into the storm also has a lot of rain that's falling, because it can wash some of that away. And in parts of the state, we experience some of that. But even knowing that, we did do, as the governor said, the largest pre-treatment effort that the department has had in our history, and putting out over 200,000 gallons of that chemical across this impacted area beforehand. Again, we're talking about the type of storm that those that have been dealing with this have not seen since the likes of since 1994. This is not weather that's normal, not just to Mississippi, but for the region. And leading into this weather, President Trump, declared an emergency for a whole region of states that was expecting this type of situation. But we did get out and pre-treat the roads, and to further process that, we put out over 1,000 tons of salt in this same area on bridges and on highways around, in an effort to try to help turn some of this solid ice into slush so that it could be moved. But given the fact of the type of storm that we had, given the fact that temperatures remained below freezing for such an extended amount of time, it did negate some of the positive effects of the treatment that we do, both prior to a storm and during a storm. So,
Thank you, sir. And just as a reminder to anyone watching this, on Wednesday afternoon, if we had, when you look at what sort of that diagonal line where the vast majority of the ice went, there was an area not far north of there where they may have gotten a tenth of an inch of ice or a quarter of an inch of ice. There's a line below that where they got a tenth of an inch of ice or a quarter of an inch of ice. This area here through basically Batesville north to the DeSoto County line and northeast of there, they may have received 3/4 of an inch or 1.25 inches of ice. So that's point number one. And then the other thing I would just mention, as we stand here on Wednesday, it's easy to say, well, we should send all of our resources to that area where the ice currently is on the interstates, and that's true today. But let's go backwards to Saturday and Sunday. There was a better than reasonable chance that we were going to get significant amounts of ice in Metro Jackson, where we have about 600,000 people that live in Mississippi. We did get ice, and we do still have people without power in Adams County, in the southwest corner of our state. So this is a storm, as Brad mentioned, that is not only is its severity greater in certain areas than we've seen at least since 1994, and I will tell you, I don't think he would mind. I rode in a side-by-side a couple hours ago with the sheriff of Tippah County, and a longtime friend of mine, and he said, Tate, because he calls me Tate, he said, Tate, the comparisons to 94 don't even make sense. This storm, for us at least, in Tippah County, is far greater than what we saw in 1994. But it was a major ice storm. It was 32 years ago, and so we are dealing with the situation as it is on the ground right this moment, and we're responding to every need that we can respond to, and we will continue to do so. Yes, ma'am. Hold on one second. Come back to you. Okay.
Yes. Well, number one, I had a significant number of people that were stranded last night and throughout the day today. We're trying to move those vehicles that were already in that area off. So yes, there is some movement. When you look on the traffic cameras of commercial vehicles primarily getting out of that area. So we have stopped again at Batesville, trying to get people to turn around at Batesville, either go back south or go east if they're northbound. On I-22, we are shutting down at State Line, heading south, and then at the Red Banks exit on I-22, that will also be on the northbound side where we're forcing folks to get off the interstate there. So both lanes of that on I-22 will be closed. We will have barricades set up on the entry ramps onto the interstate through that area, and we will also have state troopers and Commercial Transportation Enforcement Division officers, which is a division of the Department of Public Safety, law enforcement there at those barricades, making sure that folks do not proceed on that road tonight.
Yeah, so the effort is to not exacerbate the problem like we saw last night, so as to not to allow more vehicles onto the interstate. The interstate has been open for the entirety of today, but so what you're seeing in terms of the vehicles moving are those that are already on the interstate, and they're moving very slowly, but they are moving, and we're hopeful that we don't have to send emergency personnel. We're hopeful that each of these individuals get far enough north without jackknifing or running out of gas or having automobile accidents or other things. Yes, sir.
Governor, I just wanted to ask, some of kind of the questions that we've heard from folks in North Mississippi have been about the deployment of the National Guard, around the speed of the deployment. I just wanted to ask kind of generally your response to that, but just also if you can kind of clarify what difference, if any, deploying the National Guard earlier would have made in all this process?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And obviously, deploying the National Guard is a decision that I do not take lightly. We do not do it often, and we do not do it often because, as you can imagine, putting 500 soldiers on active orders disrupts their lives. Many of them, by the way, live here in Mississippi. Many of the ones that are working have family members that are still in the affected areas. And so it's not a decision that we take lightly. But I will also tell you it's not a decision where I would submit to you, given the information that we had at the time, that we would have made any other decision than exactly what we made, which was to call them up, starting the process on Monday morning. The planning phase, actually, General Ginn and I spoke, and he and his team started the planning phase for the Mississippi National Guard last Monday or Tuesday of last week. And so when we pulled the trigger first thing Monday morning, getting that going, that was the time that we felt made the most sense. If we had had any sort of if we had done it any other time, like if we had done it earlier, it would not have been safe for them to be out and about during the actual event itself on Saturday and Sunday. And so we got them on the road as quickly as it was safe for us to do so. And because, again, of course, it's not as if the Mississippi National Guard has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men and women sitting in barracks. These are real people, real men and women who have to, of course, get from wherever they are to wherever the call-up station is, which in this case, for the most of them, is Camp McCain, where we bring them in and then distribute them to where they can be of help. So, General Ginn, you want to talk about that?
That's spot on, Governor. So we look at things like initial operating capacity, and then we go fully operations capacity. And for the Mississippi National Guard, prepping the week before, we became pretty much fully operational capacity the same day that we went up to Camp McCain, because as we got to Grenada, we were prepped already, so we were able to send our soldiers and airmen out to the forward operating bases that same day. So, good. Governor?
Yeah, and I would just reiterate, we were at Camp McCain earlier today, and Camp McCain is currently housing not only members of the Mississippi National Guard and our leadership team on this particular mission, but they also have a large number of linemen that are at Camp McCain that have been there over the last several days and since the weekend, as well as a large group of relatively large group of FEMA assets as well, because we are coordinating with them and as we would normally do. Yes, ma'am.
Matt Levine has a question.
Okay.
Mississippi Live Weather.
Hi there, Governor. Matt Law on Mississippi Live Weather. Thank you so much for answering these questions today. I'm, as a meteorologist, I have to say that this weather event was very well forecasted by both local media and, as you mentioned, the National Weather Service, painting a bullseye exactly where the ice occurred. The ice stopped falling by midday Sunday. Why did it take all the way until Monday morning before plans were made to start deploying to parts of North Mississippi? That's the main question that my viewers want to know. Yeah,
so you are correct, and I've said it from this stage before, and that is there is no doubt that in this instance the weatherman got it right, and they were very accurate, really from 3 or 4 or 5 days from when the actual precipitation started to fall, which in our state was sometime around dark on Friday night. The precipitation that you mentioned falling and being done by around midday on Sunday, that's certainly when the precipitation stopped in the north part of the state, but the actual storm, for the most part, did not leave the state until sometime later on Sunday. But the question that we did not know for sure, or at least I did not know for sure, I'm sure the the weathermen probably knew it exactly right because they get it 100% right all the time. But what we didn't know for sure on Sunday is in the area where the precipitation was falling, as an example, Metro Jackson, as an example, Southwest Mississippi, as an example, East Mississippi, say Starkville and Columbus down to Meridian. What ended up happening, which is very advantageous for us, is that we had the precipitation stopped and the very, very, very cold weather started after the precipitation got out. And so we didn't have a major event in Jackson. Now, if you go to Western Hinds County, you go to Warren County, they had significant amounts of ice. They had about 7,000 or 8,000 people without power. And so I don't think, I think that the preparation for deploying the Guard actually started as early as last Tuesday or Wednesday. The actual decision as to exactly the number of units that we were to deploy, the number of individuals that we were to have, obviously started on Monday morning. Okay.
Martin?
Not to my knowledge. I have not been told that that is the case. I would find it hard to fathom that someone was stuck, someone who was not either wrecked or pulled over to the side of the road and got stuck, that they were out there for 2 days. But I have no doubt that there were individuals, which is the reason we deployed the assets that we deployed at 10 p.m. last night, that there were people out there stuck for way longer than we would have liked for them to be, which, by the way, is exactly why the commissioner is talking about shutting down the interstate overnight tonight so that we don't have a repeat of that. But no, I'm not aware of anyone being stuck out there for 2 days, and I'm not aware of any fatalities being caused because of those challenges. Yes, sir.
This might be more of a MEMA question, but I'm just wondering, I know there is a state of emergency declared. As far as a disaster declaration, could you talk a little bit about kind of where we are in that process and the potential of IA or PA from FEMA coming in?
Yeah, I'll let Mac address that. I will just tell you, again, the typical federal disaster declaration that we would ask for post-storm requires an assessment of what the damage is going to be. We are currently in response mode. We started assessing today, but we're not really in recovery mode yet in Mississippi. We are in response mode. We are responding to the disaster and responding to the individual challenges that are popping up in each of the counties that are affected. And so, Mac, if you want to address that, would be fine. Yep.
Yeah, if you look at what MEMA does, probably a week and a half out, we did an administrative order, which I already start mobilizing gear. I already start prepping teams. We already start talking with the local county EM directors, and that's the pipeline. Let's be very clear that 82 counties in the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians, we train together. Web EOC, that is where they put in, this is what happened. This is my first damage report. This is my second. Hey, this is the onslaught. I need these things. They put those in there, and the pipeline started. And each county manages the cities within it. So the system is there. Same thing with MDOT. I mean, we were talking to them, hey, where are you treating? Where am I treating? So as we looked at the storms and watching all the 4 to 5 national weather services for the state of Mississippi, different flavors of ice cream, right? South is getting something different, and Northeast is getting something else. Over here, there was great snow, east of Oxford? Hey, that's easy to get off the road. I hadn't seen an ice plow yet. You show me one of those one day. So they just don't see it. So as you work through this, we're even talking with the federal government. So that is our job. We start coordinating with FEMA. Hey, what's going on? What's happening in these other states? We're seeing this. We're seeing that. I'm talking to all of the Southeastern Conference of Disaster States. That's what I call them. I mean, I'm starting with Texas, talking to Kidd, and I'm talking to Florida. Florida goes, hey, good, come down here. We got good weather. I said, no, I want your snowplows out of Florida. I mean, so we are all coordinating. Alabama's offering up. So we're mapping this up, and about when should we have called out the National Guard? Right on time. I'm not going to have them sitting around for 3 days going, what you want us to do, just ride up and around the road? Hell no, I don't want you to ride up and down the road. I want you to be ready, have your teams ready, and then we're going to go out there. So there can be second questions all day long about that, but now we have an emergency measures day. What is that? It's not debris. It's not parks. It's not necessarily roads and bridges yet. Life safety. That is exactly what these gentlemen up here in the governor, but that's what we're doing. Life safety only. That's why we're in nursing homes. That's why we're dropping in these generators here, there, and methodically working across it. There'll be a time where I worry about debris, but right now I'm telling everybody, push it to the right of way. Just get it off the road so the ambulance can get down there. I can have a highway patrolman. I can have MDOT. Man, they're the only office I know that somebody's driving 60 miles an hour through their office every single day or sliding on ice, and they're in a dangerous spot. So DPS is now trying to give them a buffer. Please help us. Don't get on these highways. Give them a buffer. So as we get to when I start looking at damage assessments, I start looking at debris, then we'll go for that federal declaration, the major declaration that you normally see us do after a tornado, or we do emergency measures even before a hurricane. So we get the funding and everything right so we can go out there and respond. We have the authorities under the governor to go out there and do that, to dip into our disaster trust, to be able to make sure we have everything on site. And that's where we are. We're at the right time, at the right place, doing the right thing. Anybody wants to second guess me about being late, come see me. I'll show you where we were right there, we were prepped, and we are making those things happen. Who knows why somebody's generator died in the middle of the night last night? They did. So I've got one going to them today. But they're not individual. I got calls today. There's not individual generators for homes. 1.4 million connections in the state. There's not 1.4 million generators to put on homes everywhere. That's not what we're doing. It's the public safety. It's government to keep that running. And I think what you're going to see is afterwards, there's going to be plenty of debris. Trust me. Plenty of the work that the nonprofit, the EPAs, Electrical Power Associations, as their damages under the current rules and regulations with the Stafford Act, we're going to be able to put that toward our state declaration, our lower level, and we're going to be above that. And that's when we start on the backside, looking at that reimbursement, looking at how we can get that done. But right now, it's life safety and we're moving. Good question. No, I say if you're looking at 61 counties and you want me to assess them all, I've already told FEMA, hey, I need some help. There's a limited amount of people of my debris specialists that actually work in that area. And as always, FEMA and MEMA will look at it and write the projects together, and then we get those up. But there's no lack of funding to do what we got to do right now. The EPAs have it. They have their own funds, their own emergency funds, and we're not replacing a pole. We're not working on a transformer. We are moving. Everybody's moving. We're in the Disaster Trust Fund. We're funding some of these teams, the National Guard, you name it, the overtime that Brad's folks are working at, MDOT, DPS, you name it, Department of Health. If there's somebody that needs to be mobilized, we're on it. And so that's why we have a Disaster Trust Fund in the state of Mississippi that the governor monitors and the legislature funds, because we know we've got to move fast. So we're in the right time, right place, doing the right thing. And this Mother Nature and the ice is bad. So we got to have a little time to get that done. And I believe we're going to be right on time this weekend, get some things done to be able to go forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at reporting here, in which State Senator Nicole Boyd shared incidents of price gouging up in her district, particularly in things like getting tree branches cleared. Is there a plan to respond to that, or have y'all heard reports of price gouging up in those areas affected?
We've heard rumors of what some people want to charge to do certain things. I will tell you that Mississippi has a price gouging statute. It is illegal to price gouge in the state of Mississippi. And and it should be. So, we want to make sure that in disasters of this magnitude, there are always going to be shysters, and so we encourage everyone in our state to report these particular things. If someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I'll charge you 10x to do something," you think it ought to cost X. That doesn't necessarily mean it's price gouging. It may be in a ridiculous price, and you ought not hire them. But clearly, it is illegal in the state of Mississippi to price gouge when we are under an emergency. And if there is a legitimate instance where there is price gouging, then I will personally encourage the Attorney General to prosecute it, and I have no doubt that she will. And so please turn in any legitimate price gouging attempts, and we'll make sure that they get prosecuted. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You're right with Channel 16. Could you speak to the death toll and share any information you might be able to share about these people?
Yeah, so terribly tragic event. We currently are reporting 10 fatalities. The latest of those 10 that I have from earlier today were 3 fatalities in Tate County, Mississippi. It was a house fire. It is terribly unfortunate. We see this from time to time when, even when power is not out, but certainly when power is out, individuals in our state using space heaters or propane heaters or some other avenue to try to stay warm, and a fire occurs. And so that's an alleged house fire caused the latest 3 fatalities in Mississippi. Absolutely tragic. It's why we're trying to continue to communicate across our state. And look, let's reiterate when we talk about the weather as it existed. If you look at the forecast from Thursday and Friday, the president declared a major disaster for, I think, 15 states. But if you looked at the weather forecast, all 15 were getting major weather, but the dark red circle on every major forecast was in North Mississippi. And so we received a different kind of weather than what you saw in a lot of other states. And by the way, we saw a different kind of weather in Adams County and in Wilkinson County and in Warren County, even than what we saw in Tate County. We're not talking about shutting down interstates in Warren or other counties such as that because we didn't get the level and the amount of ice that we received in the north part of the state. So, but yeah, price gouging is illegal. If you know of price gouging and you can confirm it and document it, I am for prosecuting it. I will ask the Attorney General to prosecute it, and I'm confident that she will do that. Great. Hey, Martin. Well, the road has been open in Mississippi until what we have done in the last couple of hours from Batesville north, not allowing additional new vehicles to go on. As we started talking about as early as Friday at the press conference I did, as well as Sunday that we did from this podium, all of the roads in Mississippi, or the roads on major highways and interstates, were passable on Sunday, but passable and safe are not the exact same thing. And so what I would say is to everyone that's looking to travel either on I-55 or I-22, we are hopeful that we know that we made progress today, and we are hopeful that we can make more progress tomorrow. But I will tell you, as there were trucks either moving very, very slow or trucks that were either stuck on the right side of the road or the left side of the road today, intermittently, I would see Mississippi Department of Transportation vehicles. I would see National Guard vehicles that were stuck in between the traffic trying to get their job done, and it was very difficult to do so. And so, again, we're gonna have to get through this. We know that together, and we're going to continue to work to do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dylan Thornton, WJTB. So we've had like nonprofits or other residents call us to try to figure out ways that they can help you help the community. Is there any like direct lines or numbers that they can contact to help out with that?
Yeah, I think Mac, do you?
So if you go to the MEMA website, we have we work with VOAD, Volunteer Organization After Disasters, and we're kind of telling them, hey, here's the list of things that we are going to need at those times, and then at those times, we're to pause right now. Do not come and be a part of the problem on 55 and 22. Don't self-deploy. There's going to be a need. There are some needs. We'll tell you if you're going to come below the frost line, as I'm going to call it. Yes, we've got some needs that are already poking up, so we're already getting some of those in there. But look on the website. There's a number. Call that number and tell us what you got. What are you thinking? Or if you're saying, hey, what do you need? We're going to go get it and bring it to you. There's always going to be a perfect time to be able to do that, and we want to move that in there safely. We don't want it to be jamming up the highways, and then you're stranded here. You don't know anywhere where you are necessarily on some of our secondary, third, and fourth roads that are out there. So safe manner, we're here. We want you to come, but at the right time. Thank you.
And Scott and Crystal are right here, and so if they can give you a phone number or a actual website to put up online or on your would be really, really good. Yes, ma'am.
So obviously we're seeing these injuries and fatalities from the storm, additionally with house fires, carbon monoxide issues. I'm just curious if you guys have heard from county, city emergency response about some of the particular difficulties with that. And then just kind of as a follow-up there, strain on hospitals and other, medical centers, particularly in rural areas where they may already be somewhat strained resource-wise?
Yeah, so when Mac said earlier that we have 36, we have already deployed 36 generators yesterday and today. We are prioritizing healthcare facilities. We are prioritizing water systems that may not have power. And we will continue to do so. I think, again, we're talking about safety and preserving life, and we continue to prioritize those things to do exactly that. In terms of the electricity getting turned back on, because I think this is a key piece of this as well. As you know, we predicted yesterday that the TVA would have all of their major transmission lines hot by close of business yesterday. They did so. And so now we've got the individual EPAs from all over the state that have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people staged that are out and about trying to get people's power back on. We were at 180,000 without power at its peak, which I believe that was on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Before we came in here, that was down to close to 110,000, and I'm hopeful that continues to come down here towards the last couple of hours of daylight here on Wednesday, and hopefully they will continue to do so. I saw that Entergy had put out an actual schedule as to when they thought the lights would be back on in their entire territory, with Grenada being the hardest hit. By the way, Camp McCain, where we were today, is in Grenada, Mississippi. Entergy said the day before yesterday that it was the hardest hit of their entire area. So you can see the challenges that we're dealing with respect to that. It appears that we are good. Look, I sincerely appreciate all of you participating in this press conference. Getting out information to our constituents is incredibly important, and I want to conclude this by thanking the people behind me and every man and woman that works for them, but I also want to thank literally everyone in Mississippi who is going above and beyond to help themselves, to help their families, to help their neighbors. When you do what I did today and you travel and you get to meet with the people who are running the long-term care facility in Ripley or running the hospitalist in the hospital in Tippah County. It'll make you proud to be a Mississippian. I'll just tell you that, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of work right now to try to not only help themselves but help others. And we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together. So thank y'all. Pray for Mississippi, and God bless.
Reeves in a press conference there, as you saw down in Jackson, recapping a number of things that came of this here. First off, again, the governor mentioning now 10 fatalities confirmed in the state. I believe 3 of those probably coming from space heater issues. Well, we also had a number of deaths coming out of Tate County today, unfortunately. We'll talk about all of this in more detail here in a minute. We're going to get into the 5 o'clock broadcast here as we talk to the emergency managers in both Panola and Tippah counties on their recovery efforts. Again, in both cases, very hard hit. But we're going to start that 5 o'clock broadcast now. Appreciate y'all for watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Give us a moment to get into that.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Hello there, keeping you all. This is Matt Lawpon. Welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 5 as we continue with assessment of the recovery efforts after the ice storm of 2026. We're going to hop right in here to begin the show with the emergency manager out of Tippah County. I appreciate Tom Lindsay for kind of coming in to talk with us again today here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Of course, one of the hardest hit locations in the entire region up in Tippah County. There's so many trees down. I mean, still an icy situation. I mean, you can see behind you there, it doesn't look like anything has changed melting wise to how cold you've been. I know you've got a number of things that are improving. How do things stand as of Wednesday evening?
Good evening, Matt. Thank you for having me on today. So things are starting to move a little bit better. Late last night, we did get restoration to our power, especially in Ripley, limited power in Ripley, moving up around Highway 15. Tippah Electric is doing a really phenomenal job keeping us in contact and doing, exactly what they need to do. A couple of things I want to talk about Tippah Electric is whatever you do, make sure that if you're running a generator, make sure that it's vented properly. And also, if you're running a generator, make sure your main breaker is thrown on your house. We don't want to backfeed and hurt the lineman for sure. The Highway 4, Highway 15 roads are open. There's the secondary roads that are starting to be open right now. National Guard is starting to move into our county. That has happened late this evening. And we have a warming centers in 4 areas of the county now. One is going to be at Walnut, one is going to be at Blue Mountain, Faulkner, and Dumas, and a 5th is going to be a FEMA Red Cross shelter. If you need to stay sheltered overnight, you need to come to the American Red Cross shelter. It's going to be at the First Baptist Church, Ripley, and they're going to be doing feeding and sheltering of our citizens from now on out.
So you said, again, this has been a warming shelter and now upgraded to a Red Cross shelter. And give that location one more time, just in case someone missed that.
Sure. It's going to be at the Ripley First Baptist Church. I wish I had the address. I apologize for not, but you can Google that. Ripley First Baptist Church is going to be the shelter opening at 7 o'clock tonight. 7 o'clock.
Okay. One of the things that I think folks are still, I mean, obviously everyone wants their power back on. Have you guys had any issues now with water in your county like some other folks have had in the last couple of days? I think last time we talked, things largely gotten under control with that. Is that still the case?
Well, one of the things we live in a very rural area. We have a lot of rural water departments, and we're having a lot of issues with still no power to those facilities. We're bringing in at least 10, if not more, generators to try to get water restored to the county. We're working through that as we speak right now. Try to get water restored back to Tippah.
10 generators is a lot. Like, sourcing especially 10 generators and then moving them there, it can't be a quick process.
Right. It's logistically, it's pretty difficult. We're having 6 come out of MEMA, Jackson, Mississippi. 4 is going to be from the Army Corps of Engineers, and maybe actually even more. They're really pushing the generators hard. Getting them hooked up is a little bit time consuming. Logistics is a little bit of an issue with the roads that we have, but we're getting it done. It's starting to happen.
Okay. And, so do we feel like the number of calls you're getting to try to come out and get people out has reduced? Because I know for a while, and certainly on Facebook, folks are like, hey, we're still here. We're having a hard time getting out where we're at. Have those calls started to diminish somewhat?
I don't believe so, but one thing we're going to do to remedy that issue is we're bringing in the National Guard. They're setting up tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to try to have them out, and we're going to start finding those people that need help, try to get them out of their houses. We're going to send the National Guard in because they have the vehicles, the Jeeps to crush through this ice and get to exactly where we need to go. We're going to bring in like maybe 10 Jeeps from the National Guard and set up a nerve center and to try to get them people from their residence to the shelters.
Okay, I know that will make a big difference. I know that's welcome news to some folks there, especially in the rural parts of the county where I'm assuming the roads are still terrible if you get past, some of the main highways there. And have we finally stopped dropping trees at this point, I should ask? My ice is mostly melted here north of the Tupelo area off of the trees. Have we gotten to the point where the less of those limbs and stuff are falling?
Yes, sir. I believe so. I think we're in the recovery phase right now for sure. Response and recovery for sure. We're still in response phase. Recovery's coming on pretty good. Like for instance, tomorrow we're going to have 4 helicopters flown out of Jackson. We're going to be bringing in cases of water, cases of MREs, and that'll be arriving in the morning and then some in the evening too as well. So relief is coming. It's slow, but it is on the way.
Absolutely. Tom, anything else you want to add? Because I know it's been a really long day, and then on top of your day, I make you come on here to talk about this, but anything else you want to add?
No, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Matt.
Well, thank you so much. Tom Lindsay again with the Tippah County Emergency Management Agency join us here on Mississippi Live on this Wednesday evening. Again, one of the things Tom said, again, the Red Cross shelter now open there in the Ripley area at the First Baptist Church. And if you're able to watch us, we can safely say you still have at least some internet. So if you Google First Baptist Ripley, you'll be able to find that location coming up. We're going to speak to the folks in Panola County here in a couple minutes as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
When you've been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston and Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovehon.
Warmer temps certainly helping things out today. For some folks, helping to thaw more and more. Ackerman right now, 46 degrees and a sunset that looks fairly normal for what we'd expect here in the month of January. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lovehon in the Room to Room Weather Center. And that is not necessarily the case for locations to the north and west. We go to Panola County. Our camera there with North Mississippi Storm Chasers is operational once again. But as you can see, the roads still problematic, and that might be a kind way to put it there. Not as problematic maybe as they were 24 hours ago, but certainly things hopefully getting a little bit more I guess it's a long ways from back to normal. Power outages remain still a significant issue there. I have Tippah County behind me, but next to me here, I have the Panola County Emergency Manager. Thank you, David, so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live Weather today, as we're, obviously trying to look at, the recovery efforts across North Mississippi. Whoop, we might have lost him there. We'll see. There you are. You're back. How are things going out there as of Wednesday evening?
We're steadily making progress. There's still a lot of power outages, but both Energy and TVA are working around the clock, doing everything they can do. The county's brought in some contractors to assist with pushing the roads, trying to get them clear of debris, which does two things. It helps clear the road of debris, trees and limbs, so on and so forth. And it allows the energy crews to access the areas that they need to get to faster. The last 2 days, we've had 18 crews in addition to our county work crews and all the local volunteers who are out doing everything they can do to help.
I mean, go ahead.
Your camera a while ago had the Highway 51, which is somewhat accessible. I-55 still. I wouldn't get on I-55 for anything right now. It's still, we've been detouring traffic, stopping all 18-wheeler traffic. We had a lot of people stuck on the interstate last night because of the 18-wheelers, and we had to get out and we had to provide some fuel for some and had to figure out a way to get some out. The Highway 51 and Highway probably the two best roads in our county. If you get off those two roads out in the rural areas of the county, it's still thick ice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking at this shot here on the camera there, and again, internet is spotty still at that point. I'm sure you're running into that, with all the utilities struggling at this point here. But those roads are definitely icy, and they're going to go to a straight sheet of ice here in the next couple of hours as you refreeze. There's just so many barriers that you have. You mentioned energy, trying to get more and more of the power, on across sections there of Panola County. Have you heard any time frame where more of the citizens is most of Batesville still it's kind of in flux at this point, right?
Yes, sir. It is. They have gotten a good bit. TVA has done well trying to get some of the grocery stores and gas stations and different places back online. There's been a few residential neighborhoods come back online. We still got a lot of places in Batesville that are not back on, but they're working, like I said, they're working very diligently to get them back on. The rural areas of the county still have a lot of power outages. There's very few. I mean, the northwest corner of Panola County wasn't hit as hard, but the rest of the county is still dealing with a lot of outages.
Have you run into issues like this before, where you've had just something that's on this kind of widespread of a scale?
We've had a lot of tornadoes. It wasn't working emergency when we had the ice storm of '94. I hadn't long graduated high school, to be honest, but I remember it, and that's the last thing I remember of this magnitude as far as a county-wide event with county.
Oop. Daniel got a phone call. That happens from time to time. You're just fine. Don't worry. We'll wait for him to come up here again. There you are. So can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, you cut out for just a second there. I'm assuming it was a phone call. Has your phone stopped ringing over the last few days at all?
No, sir. I've got probably 102 voicemails that I've not been able to get to, and just added to that. But it's constant, and it's 24 hours a day.
So at this point, warming shelters in your county, where can people find those? And have you had a lot of people needing help being transported to those?
Yes, sir. I'll just be quite honest. We have we have two. We started them out as warming shelters. We actually started out with 6 warming shelters throughout the county. But when they lost power to sustain 6, we've got 2 right now. Had power restored last. The other is still running off generator, but it's also got LP gas. So, long story short, we've got those 2. We've got about 150 people in shelter. We're contemplating opening a 3rd shelter because folks were able to manage for the first 24 hours or so, but now the gas is running out, the battery backups on their oxygen machines are running out, and we're trying to find a place for them to go. We're pretty taxed, a couple spaces for that, but we're managing. We've got some requests in, some manpower help and different things. We did get a few supplies delivered today by helicopter from MEMA. They're doing all they can do to help us, and it's not just us. This is multiple counties by this, and just being patient and waiting our turn and doing what we can for ourselves. We had 4 structure fires in the county since this started. 2, unfortunately, we were not able to get to because of down power lines and trees and road conditions. I wish that this had not happened, but it has. We've had several medical calls that we couldn't get access to. It took hours to get people out. I'm not going to say that there's still not people that cannot access their roads in Panola County. I'm telling you that there's not many. We are working on it.
When you hear the reports from the fire marshal of, some of the house fire fatalities that we've had around the state, it's just, how blessed that there haven't been. Up the road in Tate County, obviously, so our hearts go out to those folks that did have that happen where folks died in a house fire. There's just so many layers in which this could go wrong. And I think just very fortunate that y'all, with those number of house fires, have not had that. Any recommendations to folks still, again, trying to keep warm and don't have power, and might just have clicked this on just at the last second?
Just please stay safe. If you don't have heat with the temperatures that we've had and the temperatures we've got coming this weekend, and the short supply of propane and gasoline, please don't take chances. If you know you need to somewhere, get there. If we have to open up another shelter somewhere, we'll find a place. Please just don't wait to the last minute and get in a bind. We've had that happen, and we have struggled out of where they were. We've gone on ATVs. We've had personal equipment owners bring personal equipment out, all to help get to people in need. And please, I know we're not expecting the snow and the ice this weekend, but it's going to be frigid from everything we're seeing. And please don't wait. Let us know in advance. Let us help you get prepared and be safe.
You hope after the situation where folks maybe were prepared and now stuck, that hopefully, as we say, teens for Lowe's on Saturday and Sunday morning, and they've been through that earlier this week, that they probably don't want to go through it again, and maybe they'll take your recommendation there and get those warming shelters, certainly when we get to the weekend, before we get to that point. Anything else you want to add, Daniel?
No, sir. Just thank you, and thank you for what you do. And
I appreciate
you to
it. Hey,
Panola County and all. I was just wanting to also say thank you to Panola County and all the citizens. Thank you for being understanding, and know that that we're doing all we can do. And if you need anything, just reach out.
Okay, it's Daniel Cole, the emergency manager there in Panola County. Thank you so much for talking to us here on Mississippi Live Weather. And like I think I said on the phone before, if you ever have a scenario you need to hop in when we're in severe weather coverage, you just give me a phone call if you think it'll save a life there in Panola County. I appreciate it. Okay, so as we go back to our camera here in Panola County, in Batesville, again, the roads in northwest Mississippi remain very, very rough, and temperatures will remain pretty cold. And so the threat remains, again, for problems related to that over the course of the next couple of days. And in particular, look at some of those low temperatures that are going to be down into the teens. We'll look at that in more detail here in just a moment. Mississippi Live Weather Radar, Mama Justice Doppler Radar, no real issues at this time. And the temperatures already dropping down in the 30s up here for locations in Marshall County, back toward around Hernando there, 40 degrees Water Valley. We did make it much warmer closer to the Golden Triangle with a lot of upper 40s out there for some of those spots. I want to bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, who's been looking at this. And then, Gabe, as we look toward the forecast for the weekend, obviously the very cold temperatures remain one of the big concerns.
Oh, there we go. I apologize. I had my mic off behind the scenes, but I was watching all of this happen and just talking to the EMA directors and hearing about the damage. You know, cold is the big concern heading into the next couple of days. Big reason why. Look at the difference in temperatures. I'm not going to stay on this too long, but we're talking in those areas that still have those snow and ice covered grounds being a notable difference from the rest of the area. 40 in Fulton, 36 up around Boonville, 39 over there towards Pontotoc. It's 33 in Ripley, 40 in Water Valley, 33 Holly Springs. So the areas that have seen the snowfall, that's basically reflecting all of that sunshine that's trying to get to the surface and not allowing it to warm up during those afternoon hours. And that is a reason why we're still seeing this in the forecast. Luckily, it has started to climb, and these warmer temperatures will be the difference whenever we're talking about some of that snow and ice going away and leaving us with a much better pattern getting into the extended forecast. Now, tonight, we are watching the possibility of freezing fog once again as those temperatures dip below freezing and that moisture still remains overhead, and those winds remain non-existent. And Futurecast will show exactly that. As we get into our Wednesday night, still seeing those mostly clear skies. But you see this cloud cover that just basically builds right overhead towards Cleveland, Shelby, and Clarksdale? That's that area of freezing fog that is possible. And with it being in an area that already has a ton of snow and a ton of ice, that is going to add to what is already concerning travel conditions. So make sure to drive with caution, or if all possible, don't drive at all. And that continues to be in the forecast as we get into our Thursday, as roads still remain in hazardous conditions. I mean, it's just awful seeing the pictures coming out of there along I-55 and for folks out there towards the west and up there north of 22. Nonetheless, travel still not advised, and we do recommend you staying off the roads for now as crews get out there to clear them. Thursday morning still going to be a mostly cloudy start with those foggy conditions as well. Low temperatures in the teens for Senatobia, Holly Springs, and Corinth, 20 in Houston and Tupelo, and 22 towards the Golden Triangle. That wind chill, like I mentioned, not going to see much of it due to the lack of winds in the forecast. So that's going to be one positive with this already cold forecast. 21 degrees by pickup, 46 there towards drop-off. At 46 is a blessing because it's going to melt out some of this ice. As we were just outside today, my wife and I just going around town, we're just seeing ice fall left and right. And it was such a welcome sight because we want all that ice to clear on out. It's had its time here in Mississippi. It's not meant to have ice stick around for too long. As we keep that Futurecast moving throughout our Thursday, you can see how we do have this system that starts to move in off there towards our west, out there towards Arkansas. Now, this system is one to pay attention to because getting into our Thursday night and Friday morning, that's where we could have the potential of some precipitation and some of that, unfortunately, being a few flakes in that forecast. Now, Thursday by mid-morning, we continue to see that system move in behind this high-pressure center. That's going to continue to build into the area as we get into our Thursday afternoon, making for a little bit more saturated conditions, but also a little bit more of those warmer temperatures. So we'll keep those warmer temperatures around into our Thursday. We'll see that in just a moment. But watch how this low pressure center starts to build into Arkansas. And one of the questions yesterday was the positioning of this low. And what we'll take a look at coming up at 6 o'clock is going to be our snow finder, ice finder, rain finder, and assessing where those chances are and how there is a limited potential at a few flakes, but no impacts are expected within that system. Here's a look at 5 o'clock, and you're getting some of that moisture out there towards Oklahoma and Texas, building back behind that low and really right along that cold front towards the south. That's going to continue to move into our forecast by Friday. We'll look at that here in just a moment. High temperatures Thursday with us being in the warm sector. Temperatures in the 50s, not out of the question towards Kosciuszko, Grenada, Eupora, Louisville. But I know 44 Boonville, Corinth, and Iuka is definitely a site that folks up there want to see. 45 in Senatobia, same thing there towards Cleveland. So slowly but surely knocking that ice and knocking that snow out of the picture. But as we get into our Thursday night, and we're going to continue to keep it on an expanded look as this moisture builds into North Mississippi. Big question is, how quickly do things cool off once that moisture does move into the area? But what we're going to start to get is some of this light rainfall moving in by 10 p.m. That's going to be crossing into the river, and that's where we're going to get those chances into the forecast. Now, models still have some questions in regards to the positioning, but all of them at least showing some type of moisture trying to get into North Mississippi. So as we get into our Friday morning, I know what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of that pink there, and that's synonymous with what we had this past weekend. Not exactly. Impacts are not going to be nearly as extensive, as this is pretty much a non-impact event, but what it will give us is a few flakes, and what we'll see later on at 6 o'clock with our ice finder is just how much ice are we expecting in the forecast. Unfortunately, it's none. It's going to be more of those flakes and that rainfall as we get into that Friday morning forecast. Now, temperatures, they will be cold enough, but with how light of that precipitation we're talking about, not exactly going to accumulate too much on the ground. I would say if we're going to get anything, it's just a light dusting with some of those flakes sticking around. But 28 degrees Tupelo, 25 Water Valley, 29 Clarksdale, and then low 30s Greenwood, Belzona, and Kosciuszko. It is still a possibility, but like I mentioned, we're not expecting an impactful event, and definitely nothing near the magnitude of last week. And I know a lot of folks, sensitive to that right now as they are in recovery mode, just trying to get all that figured out and get back to a sense of normalcy. I don't want you to be alarmed by this, but the chance at a few flakes, don't be surprised if you see some flakes in that forecast moving into Friday morning.
And we're going to be cold, but that is one of the, I guess, relatively speaking, a milder morning for that. Again, Northwest Mississippi, where they've already been hard hit, most likely to have some kind of light impact from this. We're hopeful that's all the farther it goes, but I mean, it's really what's behind it with the cold air that's the bigger impact. So I think the big thing, like Gabe said, could you see flakes? Could you see something? Yes, but this is, if what we just experienced was a 10, this is a 1, right? That old snow scale I used to show back at the station. If the last one was a 9 or a 10, this one would be, a 1 on that. So very minimal impacts. I do think, some flakes would be possible, but yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And the cold behind it is still the big story as the system rolls on through. Because if you look to the south, we do have a cold front that's moving right through North Mississippi. And the cold front bringing in that colder air from the north and west. And that's going to cycle in right behind this system, drying us up, but giving us those extremely cold temperatures like we're talking about. But Matt, a big note in that forecast that you just talked about, a milder morning for our Friday morning. And I think that's a great thing to point out. The thing that I was trying to mention was it's cold enough for if any of these flakes were to form, maybe getting that, dusting there on the ground. But you're exactly right. Some of the warmest morning temperatures we've seen in quite some time, and that is definitely a welcome sight. The unfortunate part is it's not sticking around. As that low clears on out, by the time we reach our Friday afternoon, those temperatures will already take a significant dip. And as we get into our Friday evening hours, that cloud cover will clear out and leave us with a little bit more of those cold temperatures. Now, we're talking about a few flakes, and it's not impossible at all to get some of those flakes working into our Friday night and continuing into our Saturday morning. But by then, some questions in regards to how much moisture is in the air, that's still a concern because typically behind those cold fronts, drier air does filter in. And it's not impossible we get some of that wraparound moisture, but I would say if we're going to get a dusting, that higher likelihood is going to be for Friday morning compared to Friday night.
Now, I might disagree with you a little bit there because sometimes you get, again, the snow ratio, right? When you're right at 32 or something like that, you get the heavy wet snow. Because we're going to be so cold, you can sometimes squeeze and wring an extra little bit more out of the atmosphere in that case. So again, I don't know that in either case we're talking about much more than a dusting, but there will be some flakes late Friday night, early Saturday that fall, but they just might be really, really small, picturesque ones more than anything else. Of course, I'm sure that's a picture that somebody'd like to throw in the trash after what this week has been.
And trends still not exactly, it's trending up, I will say that, because 24 hours ago we weren't seeing anything close to this as we got into our Saturday morning or Friday night, Saturday morning. So this is something we're paying attention to fine tune. But yes, flakes possible, perhaps a dusting, but I still don't see any significant impacts whenever we're talking about comparing one event to another. This is going to be very much on the lower end of the scale compared to last week being a 10 basically. High temperatures on your Friday. Like we mentioned, the air will be cold enough getting into our Friday night with 37 in New Albany, 41 Amory, 44 Starkville, and 39 there towards Greenwood. It is going to be a cold afternoon, but yes, as we get into those chances, and we were talking 20% Friday, and then I was debating on upping this to a 20%, stuck at a 10 because I need to see a little bit more consistency, but something we're paying attention to getting into those Saturday morning hours. Beyond that, increased chances of moisture by Tuesday and Wednesday. We do expect the midweek system, but the timing, still trying to line that up a little bit more in detail. But Friday and Saturday, that continues to be some of the questions getting into our forecast. At 6 o'clock, we're using our Mississippi Live Weather exclusive product that will showcase Rain Finder, Snow Finder, and Ice Finder, and how those chances fare with North Mississippi getting into our Thursday night and Friday morning, and then that secondary wraparound moisture as we get into our Friday night and Saturday morning. So paying attention to all of that in more detail coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Also tracking that extreme cold for this weekend as temperatures drop into the teens for low temperatures. 14 Saturday morning, 12 Sunday morning, and high temperatures going to be an extended period of time once again where we are not getting above freezing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, things definitely get more mild, and we are excited for that forecast. Just a few hurdles we have to get through before we can enjoy it. Of course, Matt, I think this is about to be sent over to you, so if you want to take over here real quick and tease what's ahead, I'll go ahead and let you know that it is going to be our exclusive products here on Mississippi Live Weather that'll help us showcase this forecast in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, of course. Here, the next live show again going to be coming up at 6 o'clock, and as Gabe mentioned, we're going to break out all the finders, look and see what we can see, and what you'll probably. I have not looked at those. Gabe prepped that because I was listening to the governor's discussion during the last hour before we came up, and so he'll have a good look at those here in a minute. I want to prognosticate that they're not going to be particularly high on any of them, but we'll have a look at that come up at 6 p.m. I know a lot of folks very, very. Shaky after the weather that we already have in place, and the cold. The cold is there, and it's going to be bitterly cold and could be dangerously cold this weekend. Of course, more on all the above at 6.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy